Jeff Sarniki. I'm the manager of the Rural Activities Garden Centre, and that job involves looking after the garden centre. We work directly with adults with learning disabilities, whilst being open to the public 7 days a week for sales. So we're also on the site. We have a shop and a cafe. And we provide horticultural therapy, so I manage a team of 7 horticultural therapists. How did my qualifications? I started back in the day at Sparsholt College, doing a MBQ level 2 in horticulture, amenity horticulture, progressed to an MBQ level 3, and then I left it. That was enough to get me started. Following on from that, I done a management qualification to allow me to get the skills to work here at the RAGC. So with my journey into the job, when I left school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I worked for 2 years in an agency environment, doing various roles, and one of them roles was a seasonal gardener for Basingstoke and Dean Borough Council. At which point I realised that I liked gardening and horticulture, and I liked it, and then they took me on, and that's where my career in horticulture started. So I worked for Basingstoke for 15 years, and then I transferred to Hillingdon Council, where I had a greater job opportunity to move in as a contracts manager. So looking after hanging basket contracts and the weed control contracts, and that was all prior to my job here at the Rural Activity Garden Centre. So that was back in '91 I started, so I've been in the industry for 30 years now, and I've got no reason to change. It's the best place to be.
Hello, my name is Daisy, and one of my job titles is a horticulture assistant, but I'm doing, because I'm with Project Search, so Project Search is with people with learning difficulties and people on the AS spectrum. So it's a 1-year course, and it's supposed to help people around 16 to 25 with learning difficulties and people on the autism spectrum to end up getting full-time employment. So it's helping us to build the skills that we want to do in a particular field, so that way we can gain these skills into full-time employment. So with the rotations that we get as me as an intern, it's 3 rotations in a year. So with my first rotation that I did was in the Civic Centre with the school admissions, so it was data entry related stuff that I did. And then my second rotation is here now in the Rural Activities Garden Centre. So I do all different types of tasks here, so things like planting, renewing pots into bigger pots, watering, weeding, pruning the flowers out, and taking all of like the bronzes off as well. So all those are types of things I tend to do in the garden centre. But what qualifications I did do in the past was, so back in my secondary school I did a level 1 certificate Cities and Guilds qualification for a year back in my secondary school called Middle High School. And another qualification I did do as well is in college I was doing hospitality, and hospitality was just to do with food and hygiene safety. And then the other thing I also did in the past as well was to do like volunteer work as well, like every maybe like once a week when I was in secondary school, and that was the HACL room, which is right next to where the garden centre is. But hopefully the job journey that I do want to get planning on doing in the future is hopefully to work any like garden centres, horticulture related, as long as it gets me out and about, and as long as it makes me happy to deal with plants. That is something I would like to do in the future. So, yeah.
Hello, I'm David from the Rural Activities Garden Centre. My job role here is horticultural therapist. I've been here for 3 months, My qualifications, I'm doing horticulture level 2. I've done the coursework, I still haven't sat the exams, so hopefully I'll do them later this year. And my sort of journey into this, my main work experience is from sort of support work with sort of adults with learning difficulties or homelessness, adults experiencing homelessness, that kind of thing. Big variety of that, and throughout my career I've done lots of things like volunteering. I volunteered in a garden for adults with HIV, so I like set that up and got it all going. So that's kind of it. And I volunteered on a farm for a year, like one day a week for a year when I lived in Devon. So I used to help out on the farm and got lots of experience with different things there. So that's kind of, I don't know, I just kind of seen the value of gardening and horticulture in working with people and what people get out of it. You know, I've got a lot out of it in my life in terms of how it relaxes me and how it's just good to be outside with nature doing things. So that's kind of sort of how I've ended up.
My name is Heidi Roberts and I'm a horticultural therapist full-time at the Rural Activities Garden Centre. My role is to support vulnerable adults that use the service and support them in a holistic therapeutic way, growing plants to sell and all kinds of things that we do here to keep the garden centre looking sharp and lovely. My qualifications, I started an RHS level 2 before the pandemic and I achieved 2 of the units. I'm still working towards all the other units. I think there's 8 altogether, and I'm hoping to do my practical RHS very soon. And the reason I got into this line of work is I started through volunteering here at the RAGC. I was a volunteer for 2 years before I was lucky enough to get a full-time job here. And I recommend volunteering to anybody who would like to get involved with something that they really want to do for a career. It's a really good way in to actually achieving things that you would like to do.
Hi, my name's Tony Wild. I'm a horticultural therapist at the Rural Activities Garden Centre. My qualifications I have in horticulture. I have RHS level 2 and level 3. I came into this role via an odd route. I had a garden maintenance business. I then worked somewhere else. Then through volunteering, I ended up meeting the horticultural staff from Hillingdon Adult Community Learning. Through that, I ended up as a horticulture tutor. Through that, I started volunteering here. So I volunteered for 18 months and then a role came up and I was lucky enough to get it. Fantastic job, best job ever.